Welcome to your Friday edition of Wasatch Weekends. We love getting to be here each and every day on the weekends for you, so you can tune in Friday, Saturday, and Sunday starting at 7 a.m. and that way you can be in the know before you go. I'm your host, Maddie Evans, and we've got a great show in store for you. We love getting the opportunity to chat with Park City Film for something for you to get out there and do this weekend, especially if you've been out skiing and riding on that new snow that we just saw come in over the past week. And we hope that everyone has stayed safe out there on the roadways. There's always some fun activities and events for you to go participate in, and there's a lot happening now that Park City has extended its ski season until the end of April, which is so fantastic because that means that we have more days where we can enjoy that beautiful spring skiing that we all know and love here. Now, speaking of all that snow that we just saw in the weather forecast, let's take a look at our local weather forecast right now.
This resort report is brought to you by Sun and Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Looking for something great to do this weekend? Well, then Park City Film always has you covered, and you can be part of all of the fun that they've got going on by going to parkcityfilm.org. And we've got Katie Wang joining us first thing this morning. Thank you for being here, Katie.
Always great to be here. Thanks for having me.
I love getting to chat with you. I say it every time. I just love your passion for what you do. And so, how was the turnout last weekend?
It was fantastic. People loved The Fabelmans. I saw it with my 10-year-old daughter. She loved it. I had to explain a little bit who Steven Spielberg was and about his life. I mean, she's seen his movies, but he certainly it's not as prominent in her young life as he was in my young life. But it was great. People loved it and just resonated with the art of, the magic of movie making. I mean, how could you not, all these cinephiles? But yeah, and it was really fun to see people come together and kind of see the beginnings of some of my favorite films when I was a kid.
Which is so cool to think about and, yeah, like you said, just experience, because Steven Spielberg was someone that I grew up with, right? I have two older brothers. Jaws was like the hit at our house for forever. And so to have that come back is so fascinating. And then, of course, you guys have another great showing this weekend.
Yes, so this is a film that I got to see at the Telluride Film Festival over Labor Day. And it's Mia Hansen-Løve's new film with Léa Seydoux, who's just fantastic. I'm a huge fan of French cinema, so I'll kind of fangirl out a minute here. But it's called One Fine Morning, and it's just beautiful and moving. It's kind of about everyday life, but so much more, which makes it eminently relatable. But the story is about a widowed young mother, played by Léa Seydoux, who's struggling to raise her young daughter, but also care for her father, who has a neurodegenerative disease. So find a place for him. He's losing his memory, and she's trying to hold on to her relationship with him, but also help him navigate into this new way of being in the world that he's unfortunately faced with. And then, of course, because it's a French film, she runs across an old friend and has an unexpected romantic affair with him. So being very French, you have to have that element in it. But it's really a film about love and memory and loss and just kind of the ebb and flow of time. So kind of a beautiful, moving film that just kind of wraps itself around you until you're just kind of immersed in it, which is really lovely.
Well, and it's so nice when you can have these films that reach so many different demographics, right? Like the caregiving, and then the maybe being a single mom, but then the still wanting to find love, and tying it all together just gives everyone that different element that they can relate to, which is what is so wonderful about all the films that you pick out, because I feel like you guys do the best job of finding films that people can relate to and will find that like little bit of comfort or solace or solitude that they need from it.
Absolutely, and just connection points, right? I mean, it's, we are all children. We all have families, for better or worse. And, so much of the film is about those relations. How do you relate to your parents? How do you relate to your child if you have one? How do you relate to your siblings? So all of these different elements, there's something for everyone kind of in the telling of the story. And that's what's so lovely about how Mia Hansen-Løve tells her stories, creates her films, is that they are kind of seemingly about everyday life, but so much more at the same time. I mean, just, you know, that is the beauty and the art of filmmaking, of course, and just very French in its own way, which of course I love. You know, that the French style, the French humor, and beautifully shot in Paris. So lots of different elements to look forward to on that.
Now, every time we talk, you talk about how much you love French cinema. Why is it that you are so drawn to the French cinema?
Probably because growing up in New York, certainly being on the East Coast, you're much closer to Europe. Huge fan of foreign cinema as a kid, going with my parents to the movies. We didn't have a TVs and there was no such thing as Netflix. I'm that old. So to watch a movie, one had to go to the movie theaters. But just there's a lot of French films that end up coming to the United States. I think there is an affinity between the US and France, certainly with the Statue of Liberty and all of that. There's a long history between the two countries. But just the way that they tell stories, I think, is so unique and clever. The French sense of humor is a little subtle, a little dry. My family is British on one side, so I certainly like the dry sense of humor. But just their way of looking at the world, I find fascinating and just very unique and very different from how we look at the world here in the United States. And just very philosophical, right? The French are known for being philosophers and deep thinkers, and you know, even children's films, there's always some kind of deep message that's in there. Nothing is just kind of taken lightly or just a throwaway. There's always some careful consideration that went into the telling of the story or how people relate to one another that is so compelling.
I love listening to you talk about it only because it makes me inspired to get out there and indulge in French cinema and see it and be part of it. That way I can really understand why you love it. And I think that's the coolest part about people getting to hear you speak about the films that you guys bring in, because what an opportunity to listen to someone who shares this just like love and passion for it the way you do. And so I think that everyone should get out there this weekend and see the film.
Absolutely. And of course, they have a very wicked sense of humor. So that's always fun as well. But you can come see the film this weekend, Friday and Saturday at 7, and again, it's Sunday at 6. And I do want to give a shout out to Rick Catoni, who's underwriting the film this weekend. He is a longtime patron of Park City Film and just lover of independent cinema and foreign cinema in particular. He and I share a love of French cinema. So he helped me bring this film in this weekend. And I do want to thank him for his support, because it is part of what makes Park City Film relevant and able to bring these great films to our community is the support we receive from our community members.
That's one of the best parts about this as well, is seeing the community members that come forward. Now, if people are interested in maybe underwriting a film themselves, what's the best way for them to get more information on doing so?
So if you go to parkcityfilm.org, you can go to the support tab, which is in the upper right-hand corner, and you can look at the different tiers of support that one is able to engage with. And then certainly underwriting a film is a possibility. We also have seasonal underwriters. Julie Hopkins, Keller Williams Real Estate has underwritten films with us for, I want to say 6 or 7 years, perhaps longer, for many, many years. And it's fantastic that she just says, I'm going to commit to the season and X number of films, and then we just kind of decide what they're going to be as we go along. But we know up front that we have her commitment, and that's so important for nonprofit organizations to have that certainty of revenue, because then that allows us to plan for other things, for other programs that we want to bring in. We're like, great, well, we know we have this dedicated revenue source, so we can be more creative with our programming. We can experiment with different types of films we want to bring in. We can, you know, launch a new film program because we know we've got the support from our community to do it. So we do encourage people to be seasonal underwriters if that's something that they're interested in. But certainly if there's just a particular film, and we get this a lot, someone says, I want to bring in this film, you know, if you bring it in, give me a call and I will underwrite it. We're absolutely happy to kind of pair you up with a particular film if that meets your interest more closely. So lots of different ways to do it. And we're always happy to work with folks, because for us too, it's the ability to bring these films to our community. It's even more meaningful when we're able to connect it to a local business or to a local patron in our community, because then they tell their friends, and then it becomes kind of more of this family atmosphere of like we are all seeing this as a collective together. And that's always fun for us to see.
This wonderful word of mouth of being in support of you guys, being in support of the nonprofit, and then the community coming together to show their love is literally one of the best feelings in the whole wide world. And so even just the experience of getting to hear you talk about it, hearing about these incredible community members that step forward, help underwrite these films, it just like makes me feel more at home here than I already do. And you guys have some great volunteer opportunities for people to get involved as well, correct?
Yes, yep. So we always have volunteers for our weekend screenings. You can help make popcorn. I'm sure that's a skill that's not on your resume yet, but it could be soon. It is a very valued skill here at Park City Film. But sell popcorn, sell tickets, tear tickets, take surveys, help us with our grant writing. But again, on parkcityfilm.org, there's a volunteer tab, and you can see our whole schedule of films coming up and see what fits with your schedule. And then, of course, you're invited to stay and watch the film for free. And a special bonus is you get an extra free ticket so that you can invite a friend to come join you and slide into the seats that you've saved early on and get a good upfront view of the film that we're about to show that night. So lots of opportunities to engage with our films on the weekends and help to support Park City Film, because that is, as valuable as the underwriting in many ways, because that's what really makes us go around, and people love that connection. During the Sundance Film Festival, it's our biggest fundraiser of the year, selling concessions, in part because people love connecting with our volunteers, just that different community feel that we're able to offer. You're engaging with someone that lives here, that's from here, that's doing this out of a passion and not just out of a sense of obligation, and that makes all the difference in the world.
I think that this could be the best volunteer opportunity that anyone could find. You get to make popcorn, you get to meet people, and then you get to see the films afterwards with a +1. I think that sounds like the perfect combination of things.
Absolutely, and it's super fun. We have people from teenagers in the local high school or in the theater program to people who've been with us for decades. Literally decades. So you get to know a lot of some of the old folks, not old folks, but kind of the people that have been in Park City, the old locals of Park City, as well as some newcomers that are from here.
The Park City veterans coming out to help make people's movie experience as best as possible. And you guys have a great popcorn bar. And so it's really important to have those volunteers there to help make the popcorn bar better for Bring Your Own Bowl.
Right, and never run out of butter, right? Because if we run out of butter, then there'll be riots in the streets. So that is another critical component to being a Park City Film volunteer, is keeping an eye on that butter level.
Now, if another nonprofit is watching this interview right now and they're interested in partnering up with you, maybe showing a film at your location and working together, what are some great opportunities that some other nonprofits could take?
So we have two different programs that we are running right now. We had a number pre-COVID, and we've been kind of reconfiguring things as one does after a global pandemic, just kind of figuring out what our programming looks like. But our Real Community series is one of our longest running programs, and that's where we partner with other nonprofits to help elevate their mission through film. Those are free film screenings that we do about once a month on Thursday evenings, and that's supported with a number of grants that we receive from the community, Summit County RAP Tax, Promontory Foundation, any number of organizations that volunteer and donate funds to us. The Park City Community Foundation is another one that supports that program. But you can reach out to me at katie@parkcityfilm.org, and I'd be happy to work with any nonprofit and see if we can find a film that will help to elevate your mission and elevate the community conversation here in Park City. And then our Raising Voices film series is a new film program for us. And this is a series that was created to showcase and celebrate voices that are traditionally underrepresented in the arts. So we're partnering with Park City Reads in a couple of weeks to show a film about dyslexia and about illiteracy in America. And really, neurodiversity is something that's so important and really underrepresented on the screen in this way. As someone that is, as I like to say, neurospicy myself, I didn't learn how to read until I was in second grade, so I don't take the art of reading for granted by any stretch of the imagination, but to be able to show what's going on to help support our students that have dyslexia or that have learning differences, that are struggling with that, and what the state of the art is in education to help make sure that all of our students succeed, whether it's reading or math or whatever that is. In this particular case, it's about reading and literacy, but that's part of our Raising Voices film series. So that's another opportunity if you are with a nonprofit that focuses on maybe some of our underrepresented communities.
Which I think is so wonderful, and it just shows the hard work that you guys put into the community to make everyone feel included, welcome, and involved. Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us. Now, if people are interested in coming to see the film this weekend, what times can they expect to be there for the showing?
So Friday and Saturday nights at 7, then again Sunday at 6. You can buy tickets online at parkcityfilm.org in advance, but we have a huge theater, 450 seats to be exact. So if you just have a change of plans or want to be spontaneous, head on over. We open our box office an hour before showtime. We'd be happy to sell you a ticket at the door as well. And don't forget your popcorn bowl. Get $1 off popcorn and unlimited refills.
Katie, thank you so much for taking the time to chat with us and making my mouth water with all the butter popcorn talk first thing this morning.
Thanks for having me.
Make sure that you check out parkcityfilm.org. That way you can see all of the wonderful films that they have coming down the pipeline, because they do such a good job to bring in these films that are really formative on connection and making sure that you feel involved in the community, and also just stimulating your brain in so many fantastic ways. We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we've got more of the show, so stay tuned.
Welcome back. You're watching Colorful Cooking with Tracy Miller, and I'm Tracy. Thanks for joining us. All right, we're going to get down and dirty in the kitchen with a pretty easy recipe. And this is a recipe that I decided to share with you because everybody asked me for it. Anytime I make it for anybody, when I'm catering, they want this recipe. And it's a vegan recipe as well. So a lot of people are really excited about that. We start off with 3 small zucchinis, and I have shredded the zucchini in my food processor. So what you do after you shred the zucchini, squeeze it out. You'll be shocked how much water there is in there. And then we're going to put some green onions in there too, just to give it a little bit of a kick. So I took I say we do about a 1/4 cup of green onions, and just slice them as small as you can. Get them going all the way. They smell really good. Green onions are spring onions, so they're of course in season right now. They're very fragrant. They're really good for you. Of course, put about a 1/4 cup. So we have 3 cups of the zucchini, a 1/4 cup of the green onion, and then what we're going to do is put some salt and pepper. When you are seasoning your food, I don't care what it is, don't be wimpy about it. Like, be pretty generous, especially with veggies. They need salt, they need pepper, they need some good flavors. Okay, my pan is warming up, so I'm going to put a little bit of olive oil in it. And this is what I like, because we're not deep fat frying them. We're not going to get as many calories, but we're still going to get a nice flavor. And it's nice and warm right here. So now we have our salt and pepper, we have our zucchini, we have a little bit of green onion, and I'm going to put a little tarragon in there too. And when you're using dried herbs, just use a little bit and like smush them around in your finger a little. That kind of wakes up the herb, and you can now smell the tarragon. It smells so good. And I'm going to do a tiny, tiny pinch of nutmeg. Don't overdo that one, or else you'll taste it the whole time. So typically I would put an egg in here, but I was working with some vegan customers the other day, and I didn't put the egg in there, and I like it better this way. So if you feel like it's not clumping together enough, you can put an egg in, but I would say about a 1/2 cup of flour. So we're going to get that in there. And interestingly enough, I told you to drain out all the water, but we're going to add just a little bit of water so that that is a binder. That's going to bind everything together. And here we go. This is when you get really messy. See how that's all coming together, and it's kind of starting to stick together too. So we're going to make little zucchini balls out of this, and then we're going to put them in the pan and fry them lightly on each side. So what happens, this is a real quick process actually. See how easy this is? I mean, I hope people still hire me to make them zucchini fritters, because it's so easy that I wonder if you won't anymore. And now we're going to make little balls out of it. So we'll go like this. I'm going to bust out a whole bunch of these. They don't even have to be like that pretty. When you're putting them into your pan, you want to hear your pan sizzle. So I'm going to crank this up a little bit, because we're going to put a bunch of cold zucchini in a pan and try to get it to sear up. So that means the pan is not going to be quite as hot. All right, so here we go, making these little balls. This is a fun thing to do with the kids too. And like I said, the vegans, they just really, really like this. And they're kind of hearty. So if you wanted to bring them on a picnic or when you're hiking or something like that, they're easy to transport and they'll fill you up. All of our friends who have gardens around here are about to start getting a lot of zucchini. So we'll give them this recipe. They'll give you their zucchini. You make some of these for them and everybody's happy. These don't take long, so you kind of want to keep your eye on them. If you overcook them, the zucchini will get a little bit mushy and it won't be quite as good. What happens at the perfect cooking temperature is the zucchini kind of melts. It melts in your mouth. It's so creamy and delicious. Okay, we are going to switch it up and not make it vegan anymore, because we're going to make a little aioli for the topping of these zucchini fritters. But first, let me see if they're ready. They're sizzling. It's kind of getting hot in here. They're sizzling. Let's see. Nah, that's not crispy enough. I mean, it could be if you want to be like that, but we are going to crisp it up just a little bit more. And look at how little olive oil I have in there. And I cook with olive oil over any heat. A lot of people say you can't cook with olive oil if the heat's too high, and olive oil will burn, but when you're making stuff like this and you're sauteing vegetables and something in the frying pan, you can use just a little bit of olive oil. See, it's not even soaked in there. So we're keeping the calories low. We're keeping the health benefits high. We are working with anti-inflammatory foods. Okay, real quick while these cook and then I flip them over, let's make an aioli for this. Aioli is super easy if you want to use some sour cream. What I do is about a quarter cup of sour cream, quarter cup of mayonnaise, a whole bunch of fresh basil, like the whole thing. And it's gonna just, it smells so good in here. When I was setting up, everyone's like, what's that? Somebody's like, are those mojitos? No, they're not. It's actually basil and it's just fresh. And all of this stuff is about to be harvested right now. So we're looking pretty good. I do lemon zest, and when you're gonna zest your lemon, make sure you buy an organic one if you can. Use your zester. This just gives it the lemon flavor that you really need, like so good, so fresh, so much lemon. Of course, we need a little bit of the juice. So I'm just gonna cut this bad boy, which is a nice lemon, not a lot of seeds. That's always nice. We're gonna cut this. We're gonna put some salt and pepper in there because basically, look at that juicy lemon. Yum, that's so delicious. Okay, and now I'm gonna put some salt and pepper in here. I'm gonna blend this when we go to break so you can just hear every word I'm saying right now. This is starting to sizzle up. It smells good. We're gonna flip these zucchini fritters. I think it's time. So it's about 4 minutes on each side, and then you actually just let them rest for a moment. Put some of the aioli on them if you want that, and enjoy them. If you want your aioli to be a vegan aioli, instead of using the sour cream and the mayonnaise, you can use avocado. So that would make it vegan. We're gonna have all the recipes on the website, so if you do wanna make these, and I highly suggest you do, then we will have those on the website. Thanks for joining us.
This resort report is brought to you by Sun & Ski Sports, your new mountain sports headquarters.
Thank you so much for tuning into your Friday edition of Wasatch Weekends. I cannot believe that we are 24 days into March right now. I feel like I've blinked and the entire ski season has just absolutely flown by. We hope that you've been out there enjoying the snow, enjoying the little bit of sunshine that we're seeing here and there, and you're excited for the extension of Park City Mountain's ski season. Now, we hope that you also enjoy canyons and Deer Valley, as they are such beautiful places to go explore right here in our backyard. Make sure that you tune in tomorrow. We'll be here starting at 7 a.m. I've been your host, Maddie Evans, and I'll see you tomorrow morning.